You're listening to Around Comics.
That's right. You are listening to Around Comics, episode 428. I cut it short. No more long intros. It's all new. It's all different. It's an all new Around Comics.
I'm not ready.
Get ready, Chris. It's time to go. Greg Porter was not waiting for us any longer. It was time to get the show on the road. So we did.
On time. Let's go.
Go. No more long intros. We've been doing long intros for 17 years now. And from now on, it's just short, quick.
It's my fucking warm-up music, man. I do a little chair dancing, get in the mood. Yeah, you like shook me out of it today. It was like a bucket of ice water on me.
You're gonna have to just get warmed up faster. That's it, buddy.
Lucky I have my pants on.
All right. Around Comics 428.
Wow.
We have, well, technically, and now that I know this, so for those of you out there in Radio Land, our faithful listeners for many, many years, when we left the airwaves, when we gave up podcasting and retired prematurely,
walked away,
when we
hung up the shoes,
we threw our costumes in the garbage and walked down the dark alley.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah. We stopped the feed, and so iTunes no longer was carrying all of our episodes, and when we came back,
you burned it to the ground.
I did. Yes, it was a bit of a scorched earth sort of process. Well, I really didn't think we were ever going to come back as a right. I just didn't expect that to happen, but when we did, I had to upload the episodes manually, and for the longest time I was stuck at about 150. Episode 150 and down had not been seen the airwaves, so
it took us a good 200 episodes to find our feet.
Yeah, right. No, that's not true, but all the episodes are up now. Everything is up. We've switched over to a new podcast hosting service. They made it much easier to get all the episodes up, so all around, including bonus episodes, everything we've ever done pretty much is up there now. I think it's
what was your favorite?
I don't fucking know.
What's your favorite? If you can go back to a night, an episode.
Oh gosh, well, I mean, the Lance Briggs one was a lot of fun. That was cool, just because it was such a weird, surreal experience for us to be sitting down with a Chicago Bear linebacker that we had watched on television and talk about comics. And then that weekend, he started using the thwip thing for his celebration dance that I told him to use. Like, that was fucking insane. That was sort of that was a moment like where I never could have guessed that Around Comics would take us.
Yeah. My memory of that is that we were like 2 hours into that talk with him. He would have stayed there all night, and we were like, "Oh, okay, we're kind of good now.
We gotta get going. We gotta." Yeah, he wanted to talk. I feel like he probably didn't get to talk comics a lot. He's a football player. He's an NFL. You know what I mean? Like, he loved comics. He loves comics. He was a legitimate comic book fan.
That's super cool, dude. Yeah.
And that was all.
For newer listeners or viewers that aren't aware of a lot of the back catalog, we did used to interview a lot of people. That was maybe once or twice a month. I remember like very drunk James Robinson.
Oh yeah, that was a great night.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. The episodes at that time, the favorite episodes were, well, what is your favorite night? Because it wasn't like now where it's like, okay, we're doing a Skype, a Zoom call kind of thing over the internet. Yeah. We were at a comic book store, and
we would
have people come in. Yeah, people would just show up, and then it would be the rest of the night. I wouldn't get home until 3 in the freaking morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, like James Robinson getting very drunk with James.
We ended up at a Korean karaoke bar that night,
talking Starman and headbutting James Robinson and getting very drunk and doing karaoke. Yeah, how do you? It's like, never would have guessed. And that was the thing with Around Comics initially when we started doing it, was just like, for you and I don't know about Tom so much. He didn't seem to care that much about it, but for
Oh,
you
we
and I,
enjoyed out of all of us for the 24-hour podcast, he's the only one that was there all 24 hours.
this is
So
true.
he's such a millennial, and he's just like, yeah, I don't care. But he's the one that would, like be the marathon runner with
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So
But
Tom.
I mean, all the conventions and
Mhm.
all the people we met and all the things that we experienced, that was,
Yeah.
it was what drove us to do the podcast because it was just so much fun. I mean, we, friends that we still have to this day,
Mhm.
20 years later, whatever it is, and just not to turn this into sort of a memory lane thing, but
Yeah.
I just
And we're
wanted
not quitting. We're not quitting. Don't worry. Don't worry. This isn't a wrap-up episode. I always loved the Gene Colan interview that we did. That was special because he passed away not too long after that.
Yeah, it may have been his last interview.
It may have been his last interview.
Probably was.
Yeah.
The Steve Rude one.
I was just gonna say Steve Rude going on about Bruce Lee.
and us like trying to contain our laughter.
It was
I love Steve Rude. I mean, I have a huge Steve Rude painting on my wall, but he's an interesting guy, man. He's got some he
threw Baron under multiple buses in that episode.
Yes.
Like, can you believe he's saying this about Mike Baron?
What else? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the John Byrne, of course. Yeah, that was
he actually notes that episode in the artist edition, his X-Men artist edition. He doesn't name us by name, but he references a specific question we asked him and said it was from a podcast.
What was I know we had Douglas Wolk on a couple of times.
Yeah, Doug Walk.
And it was funny, I was watching a documentary. It might have been like The Movies That Made Us or one of those sort of like behind the 80s movies kind of thing. And I don't remember what movie it was, but all of a sudden they had Doug Walk on there, and I'm like, hey, I've talked to that guy. I know who that is. I mean, there, I don't know. We've had so many
fun stuff. Yeah, it's for a comic nerd to be able to, show. I mean, we talked to Neil Adams, that kind of stuff. Fun.
But before you I just want to say, if you haven't gone back and listened, if you were not a listener from the beginning, or if you haven't gone back and listened to some of the episodes, one of the fun things is, we had a lucky knack of talking to a lot of creators before they became superstars. And so we have some really early, episodes where we talk to guys like Matt Fraction
when he was doing Casanova, and we were talking to him about, 5 Fists of Science.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kieran Gillen with Phonogram, and Jason Aaron and Ed Brubaker, and we talked to a lot of these guys long before they were, really big.
What was the Jason Aaron book? It was the Vietnam one.
The Other Side.
The Other Side. We had him on whenever he was putting out The Other Side.
Yep.
And that was, it was neat because, I mean, very few, like I got turned down for interviews twice, and I totally understand because we were probably punching above our weight a little bit, even though we talked to some pretty great people. Mazzucchelli, whenever we did our Frank Miller spotlight, his PR person said, he's kind of said what he needs to say about all of that. I was like, okay, I understand. And BKV, I wasn't able to get Brian Vaughn on because I think he had kind of ascended at that point.
Well, we'll see how his second TV show goes.
We'll see.
It was
the fun one. If we were talking about like Hollywood people that we had like multiple like phone calls to connect them to. You remember talking to Guggenheim?
Oh yeah. I do remember.
That was all Hollywooded up. That was weird because we had to like call his publicist, and because they wouldn't give us his number, so we had to call his publicist, and then she put us through to him, and then that was another one. I'm sure he thought it was going to be like a 15-minute whatever, which would have been fine with us, but I mean, he started nerding out. I think we had him for an hour and a half.
Yeah, we definitely had that experience over and over again, where it was like you would think we would have these people on, and you'd think that they'd get sick of us after a little bit, and then all of a sudden, the next thing we know, it's 2 hours later. Jonathan Hickman, we talked, it's like nightly news when he was putting out nightly news.
That's right.
That was a book that I remember us kind of gravitating towards and go, hey, we should talk to this guy. And we spent 2.5 hours talking to Jonathan Hickman. Just that kind of stuff. And so there's some really cool stuff out there, but it is all on there now. Cool. You can go to aroundcomics.com. All the episodes are up there and easy to listen to and share with your friends and family and loved ones.
Now those people have subreddits and they don't give us the day, time of day.
Yeah, well, they have their own podcast,
right? They have their own.
Half of them have their own podcast at this point.
Yeah, well, there's probably about 100 episodes where we had a fourth member named Scotty Young. So that was
Scotty. Yeah, I just talked to Scotty. I was trying to. Well, C2E2 is this weekend, and
that's right.
I know he was coming in, so I was trying to see if he had time to do something, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. He's a busy guy.
He's off spending his millions.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have time for scum like me anymore. Come on. But just go check those out. But yeah, C2E2. We were talking about going to C2E2.
I've got CrossFit Games.
You training for the CrossFit Games?
No, I'm
getting ready.
Not.
You got
absolutely not.
You're doing a.
No, my
Sarah.
The company I work for is involved in the CrossFit Games, which are in Madison, Wisconsin. So it's like an hour from here, and so I've been there the last 3 days, taking photos and that kind of stuff. But just the feeling walking around that. I know I wanted to bring it up tonight. It is absolutely a comic book convention for fitness nerds. It's a Comic-Con for fitness nerds. It's the same vibe. It's the same niche obsession. These are the same people. They're just much more fit.
Yeah, they're just into lifting shit all the time instead of reading comics. That's all.
Yeah.
They're nerds of a different color. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. It's even though there's this one gal, Tia, I forget her last name. She's an Australian. But she lives in Nashville. Complicated, whatever. She is the world's fittest woman. She's won like the last 6 of them.
That was Annie Thoris' daughter. It's the only one I know.
But yeah, she's like the world's fittest. I watched a documentary on her, and I was just thinking the entire time, it's like if someone who is athletically gifted is able to completely dedicate their lives to optimal fitness, not a being the best baseball player or football player or whatever, but just being the best pure athlete. It's amazing. I mean, she has 13-hour workout schedules daily.
Yeah, but the reality, I mean, it's like a lot of other things. Like CrossFit is not something that even the professionals at this point, it doesn't bring in the best athletes in the world. No. So you know what I mean? So it's like, she's the fittest woman in the planet of the people that get into CrossFit.
Yeah.
But if you had an actual super high level athlete competing in CrossFit, what they could, it's like the UFC. The UFC, for the first 20 years of its existence was dominated by tough fucking rednecks until
the Gracies came in.
And then you had Brazilians, but now you're seeing guys like John Jones, who is, he has 2 brothers that play in the NFL. He is an elite level athlete who just happened to pick MMA fighting as his sport, and he's better than everybody else. And now you're seeing guys like Kamaru Usman and those guys, and
just freakish athletes
that now are entering that sport. And it, used to be that wasn't the case. So it was like, and now it is. So it's sort of the same thing.
Well, I love and this kind of comes back to geek culture in a way, but I love how niche sports have really found their place, and I think that's a byproduct of the internet age, and obviously, like, cable 24-hour cable TV, that's scrounging for content and builds
The
up.
Ocho.
I'm a curler because I saw it on TV, right? And, it's and CrossFit, definitely, like, internet community has built that niche sport up. And
Arm wrestling.
dude, I started playing disc golf this year. You want to go down an internet rabbit hole?
No,
golf.
I don't.
Right.
Not of disc
Right?
golf.
Yeah, look like top 10 disc golf shots of the year, and you're just like, well, that's fucking awesome.
No, you're absolutely. But it's like, I know who the greatest arm wrestler in the world is. You know what I mean? Like, I know.
Stallone.
What's that?
Sylvester Stallone.
No, it's not Sylvester Stallone.
Over the top, baby.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, and that's, with geek culture, the opening up of media, and for us, podcasts, being able back in 2006 to say, hey, I have a computer, a microphone, and an internet connection. I can do this, and it kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier.
It was literally how Around Comics started.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
we could do this.
That was the bar to entry. It's and like 18 months later, we're talking to Neil Adams. It was weird.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It was. Still is a little weird.
Yeah. So that's been my week, is watching incredibly fit people walking around, and yeah, dude, it's not the men. The men, it's they're ripped and very fit. It's the women that are just like, oh my God, that woman is put together. She would kick my ass up and down the street. just incredible physiques.
We were watching the UFC. We were watching fights over the weekend, and my kids wanted to know if I thought that.
Can you take them?
Well, no, it was a woman. It was the main event was Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena for the bantamweight or whatever the hell championship, women's championship, and two great fighters. And my children wanted to know if I thought they would kick my ass, and
yes, the answer to that is yes.
Well,
the answer to that is, you're badass, but yeah, it's.
I mean, it depends. If I get my hands on them,
you can.
I'm 100 pounds more than them.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can overwhelm them weight wise. And my boss.
And I'm not untrained. It's not like but yeah, it was an interesting conversation. I'd probably get my ass kicked, but
you're gonna come out with some lumps. So will they. Damn it!
They're not going.
You would hit those women.
Listen, I am pulling some hair out. I am absolutely pulling some hair.
Nice. Well, Neil and Julie Johnson. Neil and Julie. Is it Neil or Julie, or is it Neil and Julie?
It's Neil. Come on, let's be honest.
Julie, you don't know.
Julie Johnson is not watching this show.
You don't know. They think that you can take them.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Neil and Julie.
Mm-hmm.
See, I told you it was Neil. Yeah. So what else? Are we announcing our official format change?
Oh yeah, we're just kind of gonna open things up. We've been talking ACTV for our Patreon members, and we feel like we're kind of blocking Tom from some fun TV and movie talk. So we're gonna open up some more pop culture stuff to the show. Doesn't mean that ACTV is going away, because Sal and I still need to talk about The Bear a lot.
Reservation Dogs.
Yeah, season 2 just started. Yeah, good stuff.
Oh yeah, it's terrific.
I mean, we have to have our weekly talk about what we do in the shadows, which we can do a little bit now if you want, because this season is fucking banana pants.
I haven't watched this week, so no, I don't want to talk about it.
Marta and I turned it off, fucking cracking up, and I just looked at her. I was like, "What the fuck did we just watch? what this whole Colin Robinson character arc of him? It's in
save it for Sunday. I'll watch it before Sunday. Don't do it.
They try and get young Colin into a private school, It is.
Why do you have to ruin it for me? Why do you have to spoil things?
It's the description of the episode.
I didn't read it. I'm not reading the description of the episode.
It's so banana. This Naja, this is her season.
I want to ask Sandman. The Sandman is coming out on Netflix tomorrow. Neil Gaiman's The Sandman.
Are they doing a full season dump on that?
I would imagine. Yeah. I mean, it's
Netflix. I think they're gonna. I've heard that they're gonna start moving away from that. And I from a business perspective, I understand of kind of drawing people out because you can always binge it after it's done. I really like the not appointment television, but I know that like Tuesday, What We Do in the Shadows.
What are you, 75 years old?
I like having I like regularity in my TV and my bowel movements.
You are 75.
I am 75.
I don't like it. I mean, I want to just watch it. Well, I just want to watch it. Just give me the whole fucking thing. I don't want to. I don't want to wait and then it's like this, like What We Do in the Shadows. It's Wednesday night. I forgot to what. Now I gotta go back and remember to. It's like no, just give me. I want to watch the whole fucking thing when I want to watch it. If I want to sit on the couch with a bucket of popcorn and a fucking can of goddamn peanut M&Ms and watch 17 episodes of television, that's my right as a fucking American. God damn it.
I want to watch 16 hours of Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
In a row.
And I did.
Yeah,
and I goddamn did. The Chronicles of Wu-Tang was excellent television.
What was actually probably the last one I was just like, okay, one more episode. Okay, one more episode. It was probably The Bear. I burned through
The Bear was good.
Yeah. And I don't know. And this is because I'm old. I really like the half-hour TV show format. It's just that incredibly bingeable. Okay, one more. It's only 22 minutes. I'll just do one more. It's 2 in the morning. I'll watch one more episode.
It is bingeable. No, Sandman's going to be 10 episodes. It is all coming out at once. Yeah.
So what? And I know that we watched the trailer last week. I'm one of those Sandman readers. I think like a lot of people out there. I've read like the first 4 or 5 issues of Sandman, probably 80 or 90 times, and I've never been able to get past it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's not until like you get past the first trade. The first trade is good if you're reading it in trade. The first, preludes and nocturnes, whatever.
Yeah, it just kind of sets up the world.
Yeah, that and his, him getting his power back.
Yeah,
like that whole arc, I think is very good. Although it is, I think artistically it's a little
British,
awkward.
Yeah.
But then there's like, I think a segment of time where and it was funny. I just listened to him. Neil Gaiman was on Mark Maron talking about it. Yeah.
You talked about,
And Maron was, I guess, Maron, not a comic book fan, but there was a period of time where he was reading Constantine when he was really fucked up on drugs. He was reading Constantine and Sandman, which is hilarious.
That's
yeah. And so he talked about like, he wrote an 8-issue arc for the first arc because he's like, well, at least I'll get 8 issues and then they'll cancel me and I'll be okay. But then it was like
it's before Neil Gaiman was Neil Gaiman.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he wasn't even sure he could write a monthly comic book. Like he loved comics when he was young, when he was like, and then he stopped reading comics when he was like 17 years old, and then he was a journalist, and then he came back to comics, and he wasn't sure if he could even do it, but he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. And he did the first arc, which was like 8 issues, which is, the whole thing of the Sandman getting captured and getting his, powers back. And then by about issue 5, they started to get the numbers, and he realized the numbers were going up. with every issue. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're not going to get canceled. So then he
It was
started
The Walking Dead before The Walking Dead.
Yeah, he had to start to sort of figure out what the fuck he was going to do. And I think there's that, I think there's that period of time where he wasn't exactly sure what the fucking series was going to be. You know what I mean? Like he was like, okay, I told that initial story, but now what? And so I think I absolutely agree with you. After that first collection, there's a chunk of comics there that are a little bulky and a bit of a slog to get through before he starts to find his feet with these characters. And he starts to realize that he did such a brilliant thing, which was there's no guardrails on this world. Like he can do anything and go anywhere. And you know what I mean? And
dreams are your limitation, right?
Right. And once I think he started to realize that, that's where it starts to take off. And
I know Mario Muscar, our good buddy, that's like that's the gold standard for him.
Is that how you say his last name?
It's Mario Muscar. Yeah.
Muscar?
Muscar.
I've always called him Muscar.
It's Muscar.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretentious, which fits Mario.
Well, it's Mario.
He is a pretentious cunt.
He's a mensch.
No, I know.
But yeah,
once you get through that second trade, I think then it really starts to take, because it's sort of like he's almost telling like individual little stories a few months in. But the one thing I think you have to realize also with Gaimen early on is he had this tell as a writer. He had this formula that what he would do is he would show you a bunch of shit that didn't make any sense, and then he would spend the rest of the story explaining it. And he does that over and over again. He gives you a bunch of sort of mysteries and unrelated shit, and then by the end of it, it kind of all makes sense. But sometimes it makes it a little difficult to kind of get through.
Yeah.
At least, in those initial kind of stories. But I'm going back through it now.
I've got 3 of the fucking absolute editions, and I've read like the first 5 issues of the first one several times.
They're definitely worth getting through. That little bit of a slog period, and once he starts to really like hit his stride, it takes off. It really.
And thinking back on it, I guess he probably was on the job learning how to be a really good comic writer.
Absolutely. I mean, he was a writer, but I mean, he had never written comics at that point.
How many times do we see it where writers, novelists who are comic fans come in to do a turn at writing a comic series, and the hype gets built up, and you're just like, oh, I can't wait for this, and you're like,
yeah, well, it's not. Yeah, I mean, we know that. I mean, writing a comic book series is way different than writing a novel or a screenplay or anything else. I mean, they're all different. They all have their own intricacies, and you can't necessarily translate one into the other. I mean, Stephen King's written comic books that aren't great.
You know
what I mean? Like,
like Marvel, I thought the Dark Tower series was great. I really enjoyed it, but they needed Acosta. I'm blanking.
I don't
come
remember.
in and he wrote, and King wrote like little back matter of stories and that kind of stuff because he's a prose writer, and we can talk or not talk about our comics literature debate. And I think you and I both fall on the fence of comics are not literature. People say that to try and build comics up to be higher brow. And it's like, you know what? They don't have to be literature because comics are comics. It's its own medium, and that is good enough. Like screenwriting is not literature. Playwriting is not literature. You don't have to say, oh, it's literature to make it have more weight. Comics are weighty enough on their own. Appreciate.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm certainly not the person to define what literature is. I mean, it's, whatever. I mean, first of all, it's genre fiction. So, I mean, that take. I mean, but so is everything Stephen King's written, and so is everything that
everything's genre fiction.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like
fiction is a genre of some sort, right?
Yeah. So, I don't really give a shit what critics want to classify things at. It's like,
no,
a good story is a good story, and what you're trying to accomplish with the story is what matters, as opposed to.
I think a lot of that was trying to get over the superhero bump for people that didn't realize that comics were more than capes.
Yeah, and you know what? If there's one thing about the Neil Gaiman interview on Mark Maron's show that pisses me off, is that there's still that little part of him that, as successful as he is, as beloved as his work is, as respected as he is, there's still a little part of him that has to sort of almost shit on comic books to a certain degree.
Yeah.
In the face of someone that doesn't love them the same way that.
Oh, I had to slum it for a while and write some comics.
Yeah, not really. I mean, not so much that, but it just no. He certainly doesn't necessarily do that, but it's just a matter of, like, at one point they're talking about sort of like comic book fans, and he kind of shits on your typical comic book fan, and sort of to elevate the Sandman fan. And
sure, you fucking expect him not to?
No, but it's just like,
that's his base, man. That's like Trump talking about build the wall.
I know. It's just like, come on, man. Like, why do that?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, are those fans still out there? Absolutely, those fans are still out there. But comic fandom has grown so much in the last 15, 20 years. I'm walking around the CrossFit Games, and there's a CrossFit box called CrossFit Krypton. I'm just like, don't ever let fucking Warner see that.
Yeah.
So the pants off of you.
DC Comics is changing their name from DC Comics to just DC.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're more than that.
Yeah. There's a big shakeup. The whole HBO
Marvel Entertainment.
Yeah.
It's and that's, well, I mean, they're going to go where the money is, but the source material will always be there. But the thing is, you don't have to, quarantine yourself to liking one or the other. I mean, we're in a, I don't think I'm overstating it, whenever I say that we're in a golden age of geek entertainment, and that has kind of, dovetailed with the growth of streaming services that, it's not 3 networks and, a UHF channel anymore. You've got so many.
You mean the good old days?
Good old days, whenever you had to get up and turn the channel on the clicker. Tick, 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 tick. Back whenever we were talking about appointment television. If you fucking missed the A-Team that week, you were fucked.
Yeah, you weren't seeing shit.
You weren't seeing that not everything got syndicated or reruns. I mean, that was summertime, right? It's if you wanted to catch up on something or catch an episode that you missed, you watched it in the summertime, because that's when all of the networks, all they ran was fucking reruns. We are old.
Now I want to go watch.
We are old.
Now I want to go watch the A-Team.
Right?
Oh, speaking of TV and movies and stuff, I didn't show you what I got in the mail this week.
Neil did mention something I want to talk about. We'll circle back to Predator. Oh, what is that?
It's a little Rocketeer helmet.
I know it's a little Rocketeer helmet, but where'd you get that?
I got that at the same place where I ordered my Rocketeer pen. They have a whole Rocketeer collection that's officially licensed Rocketeer memorabilia and stuff. So I ordered this cool little brass.
The ghost of Dave Stevens.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I gotta have the helmet. I mean, that's just the coolest. Like,
I still love that movie.
I do too.
I don't know why people shit on it. I still love that movie.
I thought it was pretty well done. I mean, considering like you're taking a kind of oddball comic book and turning it into a movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the Rocketeer. I mean, for that to have been made into a movie was just unfathomable at the time, but that's the perfect kind of comic property that you look at now that gets turned into a Netflix or Amazon Prime series.
Rocketeer. They
It's
should
like
redo
that.
it. They should.
It's kitschy enough that it's not, Superman, but it's one of those great comic stories that's like, oh yeah, that'd be a great TV show.
It was it got 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, so not not shit on.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly is so nice to look at.
It's before she
Oh, she broke your heart and had a breast reduction.
yes. No offense to Jennifer Connelly, I understand.
Hey man, back problems, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it was giving her back problems because she had massive
Yeah.
boobs.
I know you don't watch Snowpiercer, but she is great in that.
She's a terrific actress.
She's fantastic in that.
Yeah. She was a terrific actress with terrific boobs at one point.
I still want you to get over it's like the Sandman hump. I want you to get over the Snowpiercer hump. It's so
dude, the movie was
good.
Enough for me. Like, I
No,
don't
the TV
think
show
it's that
is so
interesting of a
good. It's
concept.
so good.
It's so, but honestly, I think the reason I don't want to watch it is because it is our future. We're not far off. And I don't need any more reminder that the only hope I have of escaping a dystopian existence is death. That is really all I have left.
Do you really want to be on the train?
I don't. No, fuck no. I don't know. I don't.
You know me and dystopian stuff and post-apocalyptic. I am a moth to the flame, Sal. I'm a moth to the flame.
I don't want to see any more of my future or my children's future.
What did I say? So I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West, which is awesome. But I actually heard that game referred to as a post-apocalyptic world.
Post-apocalyptic. So it's
post the post-apocalyptic.
So
it's after like societies have started to rebuild after the apocalypse. So
yeah, that makes sense. Post-apocalyptic.
And it is cool because I mean there's still old technology around and the old ones, and you get to go to like a Las Vegas, which is basically underground now because it's the desert has reclaimed it. It's an awesome game, but it's another one of those 150-hour open world. You have to learn how to weave baskets.
I don't have time.
I know. It's fun, but you get to shoot robot dinosaurs. It's sweet.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Staying on what the TV side, I think is it Amazon that's doing a Horizon TV show.
Wait, Horizon is the game? This is just
it was Horizon Forbidden West is the sequel to Horizon
Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I played the Zero Dawn one with a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I love the story. It's a really smart show or a smart game.
I don't know. I suck at video games now. I don't have the patience.
We're on story mode, man.
Yeah, I suppose so. I have no time. I have no time left.
Marta has successfully played through all of the Uncharted's now.
Oh, those games are I finished all the Uncharted.
Yeah, even though Uncharted, was it Legacy, or it's not even Drake's not in it anymore. He's retired.
Did you see the movie with Tom Holland?
Half of it.
You didn't like it?
But it was probably late at night, and I was just like, okay, I'll come back to this.
I mean, I didn't love.
It's really hard for me to see Tom Holland in that role.
See, I didn't have a problem with Tom Holland, but Mark Wahlberg, I had a hard.
Oh yeah, that was bad. Yeah, he's not Sully.
Yeah, he's not nearly old enough to be. But this was supposed to be like before the games, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. It's
what I mean.
Mark Wahlberg is not my favorite actor in the world. I mean, I'll watch Ted a lot. I think that is his finest work.
Ted?
Okay, I'll give him a Boogie Nights nod.
Oh, that is probably definitely his finest work, because he plays a
Yeah.
moron, which probably comes easy to him.
Right.
But yeah, that's probably his favorite, his best work for sure.
Yeah.
You're not I mean, he did produce Ballers, which is, excellent television.
That's
No?
that's more your jam than mine. I'll watch the Doctor Who. You watch Ballers.
Let's see. Boogie Nights,
He
Three
was
Kings.
fantastic in that. That's a fantastic movie.
I love Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights is one
Yeah.
of my favorite movies of all time.
We're bringing Burt Reynolds back as a serious actor.
Three Kings,
Yeah, it's all right.
good movie. He's not the star of it, but good movie.
Was he in Six Brothers?
Four Brothers.
Four Brothers. Three Kings and Four Brothers.
Yeah, Three Kings, Four Brothers. Yeah, he's Marky Mark. What do you want, man? I mean, the guy's become
More
an
Funky
international
Bunch.
superstar
I
from
need
having
more Funky
abs
Bunch.
and wearing underwear. Give him a break. Give him a break, man. I mean, he's had a hard life.
There's about 100 other people I would have cast as Sully before Mark Wahlberg.
I don't disagree. Disagree. I did not hate the movie though. I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was the Nathan Fillion trap, because I mean he had actually done like a fan film of Uncharted. Have you ever seen that?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah, look it up. It's on YouTube. Nathan Fillion did a fan film playing Nathan Drake, and it's fucking awesome. But of course, he's too old.
Yeah, he could be Sully. He could have been Sully.
Actually, that would have been perfect if they had Nathan Fillion as Sully. Right. I think that would have. It's kind of like Shaun of the Dead. Senior moment. Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg.
It's kind of like Simon Pegg being Huey's dad.
They did, since you didn't watch the whole movie, they did have the guy who did the voice of Nathan in the movie.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so he did make an appearance, which was kind of cool. But
yeah.
I mean, I love Nathan Fillion's great, but Nathan Fillion is not a great actor.
He's Nathan Fillion.
He's the William Shatner of our generation.
He overacts, and you love every second of it because he's so goddamn charming.
He is incredibly charming.
I'm actually listening to an audiobook that he's doing he's the voice talent. It's on Audible, obviously. It's called The Salvage Crew, and his character it's an AI, but it's a human AI. He basically had his consciousness uploaded, and he is now the consciousness that runs a deep space salvage ship with a limited human crew, and it's a salvage mission that goes wrong, and he's the AI that is trying to work with the crew to basically save their lives. It's really good.
So he's the voice on the ship for aliens. He's the Nostromo voice, basically.
But yeah, he's Hal, but kind of a Hal who's not gonna kill everyone.
I've been talking about slog. Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery started their podcast Video Archives.
Oh yeah.
And the first episode was Dark Star and Cocaine Cowboys were the two movies they watched.
Oh Jesus.
I've never even heard of Cocaine Cowboys. I have no idea what it is, but Dark Star I know what it was, and I've been trying to get through it.
Rough.
Well, it's John Carpenter's first movie and Dan O'Bannon's first movie. And Dan O'Bannon went on to write Alien. And he also went on to direct Big Trouble in Little China, or write Big Trouble in Little China. Dan O'Bannon's genius, and obviously John Carpenter's a genius. But it was a student film that they turned into this 1974 science fiction movie. And there are absolutely things about it, if you put in context, that are brilliant. Like, there are things in it that are amazing, but it is it is not a, like I'm just having a hard time trying to get through the whole fucking thing. I mean, there are things that are funny. It's a comedy, kind of. It's a science fiction comedy, and you have
From
to appreciate
1974.
from 1974.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that sounds awful.
I love Quentin Tarantino. You know how much I love
It's
Quentin
like,
Tarantino.
yeah, I lived through Ice Pirates.
Yeah. Well, it's
Wasn't
not.
good.
I would watch Ice Pirates. I think before I would watch this fucking movie.
That movie is.
I
awful.
love Ice Pirates.
It's
love
awful. It's awful.
Oh, it is, but it's awful in such a good way.
It's unintentionally funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, no, it's. Yeah. I mean, it was meant to be. It's a comedy. It's not like they were doing it seriously.
Yeah. No.
But it's horrible in all the best ways.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. We should do. We haven't talked about this, but we're working on another project where we're our spin-off from our K-Billy Super Sounds.
Our spin-off from our spin-off.
Our spin-off from our spin-off.
It would be like what? Joni and Chachi? No.
I don't even Chachi. Chachi for Congress.
I am not Scott Baio.
Yeah. But we should do like the top 5 sci-fi comedies of all time. Spaceballs, Dark Star might have to be on there.
Spaceballs,
Ice Pirates.
Would you? No, it's not a comedy. But it is. There are funny parts of it. Time Bandits.
Time Bandits.
I don't know if I'd call it a comedy. There's certainly funny parts. That's a fucking dark movie. It's fantastic. I think it's my favorite Gillian movie.
Well, I mean, anything with Gillian is dark, but I think it's certainly funny. Yeah. I don't know. I think we got more to talk about here than we might originally think. You got Guardians of the Galaxy, technically sci-fi comedy.
Yeah, I'd call that a comedy, sure.
Galaxy Quest.
I'd call Ragnarok, the Thor Ragnarok,
sci-fi comedy.
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest. Buckaroo.
Yeah.
Buckaroo Banzai. Idiocracy.
Galaxy Quest might be which one?
Idiocracy.
Yeah, I guess I'd call that. They had sci-fi elements, sure.
Barbarella. The Toxic Avenger. Okay. I don't know. Could be an episode. Top 5.
I would, if you're going to say comedy out of all those, I think the best pure sci-fi comedy would be Galaxy Quest. It's probably the best movie.
We'll have to have that argument on the show. I think
that's a good one.
I think we're going to have to. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this only monthly. There's too many good things to talk about. Anyway, that's something else. That's not around comics, but look for that in the near future.
It's coming.
Yes, it is.
Oh, have you been getting a bunch of like weird spam text? I guess this is the new thing where it's just like like random. It's hey, how are you doing? Or is this John? I just got a text. A spam text that says, "You're gonna get it. Why you do this?"
No, but I occasionally get emails to the Around Comics email that says something like, "Hey, my girlfriend found a soulmate on this app, but what about me? Are you looking for love or some sort of spammy?" I reply to them all.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. As you, I mean, I tell them I'm you, but yeah, for sure, I reply to everyone. It's you and then Vince B. I reply to all of them as Vince B. My name is Vince B. and I am looking for love.
And I live in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Ooh, Starship Troopers, not a comedy necessarily, but I love Starship Troopers.
And there are
satirical. It's definitely satirical.
In a weird way, I look at Starship Troopers as like the sci-fi version of Full Metal Jacket. It's kind of got that same story arc.
It's funny because with Starship Troopers, I mean, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I have a family member who I had to explain to the fact that Starship Troopers was satire.
Yeah, it's certainly commentary. It's the book and the movie are two different things.
Oh, absolutely. I'm talking about the movie.
The book is more commentary on the Korean War, and the movie is much more satirical.
Yeah, it's certainly not pro-war. It's it's the it's a very satirical look at military and the war, but people watch it and are sort of like, there are people out there, Trump fans, who watch it and sort of are like, fuck yeah, America,
Kill them bugs.
Kill them bugs. Yeah. For sure. There are people that watch that in a different, and I didn't realize that.
Rio.
I didn't go Rio. I did not realize that. I thought everyone got the joke watching that. Yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah. The have you ever read it?
The book? Years and years and years ago I did. Yes.
Me too. It's brilliant, and just the neat thing walking away from is that they never actually have a battle in the book. It's always before and then what happened after. There's never any like battle scenes in the book. And then the movie is just like fucking destruction all the time. It's fun to watch.
I remember listening to an interview with Paul Verhoeven about Starship Troopers years and years after it had come out, and someone had asked him, like, well, why did you decide to change it so much from the book? And he's like, well, who the fuck wants to watch that book? It's terrible.
Well,
I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, and I get that. I love the book, but it's not an action movie. They made an action movie about the idea of Starship Troopers.
I don't even know if I would consider that an action movie. I mean, it is such a, I mean, I would say it's more of a commentary on war and the gymnastic sort of feelings that lead to war than the book was. The book I think is much more, I mean, while it's commentary on Korea, I don't know that it's necessarily a damning commentary in many ways.
It plays around with the idea of earning citizenship, which I think is interesting, that you aren't born a citizen. You have to work your way into it, and there are people that don't, and that's socially acceptable. But to earn your right to be a citizen, I think is,
but I don't think the book necessarily portrays that as a negative. As much as the movie does. The movie,
I think that's kind of the brilliance of the book. And I probably haven't read it in 25 years. Is that it lets you come up with your own conclusions on stuff.
I haven't read it. I haven't read it in enough time to say.
And I picked that up. It's short. It's like 150 pages or something.
What's the there's another.
Did you ever watch the animated series?
I don't think I did. No.
It's really good. It's early, the kind of dawn of the CGI animated stuff, the computer animated stuff, but it ran 4 or 5 seasons.
Really?
Yeah, I've got them on DVD somewhere. I'll have to pull them out and see if they hold up very well. But
if it's not Paul Verhoeven, I don't think. I don't know if I'd be that interested, honestly.
Yeah. No,
there was a sequel. They made a sequel, and
that's a stinker.
Yeah, not so good. Not so good. I'm a big Paul Verhoeven fan, though.
Mm-hmm.
I like his stuff. Is he still alive?
Oh, dead or Canadian?
Dead or Canadian. Paul Verhoeven, born July 18th, 1938, still alive. 84 years old.
Yeah. Neil said Verhoeven made the cartoon after he realized the book was good.
That's not true.
I believe that Neil is a Starship
That's
Troopers
bullshit.
fan.
Neil, and you fucking know it. He did not make the goddamn cartoon after he thought the book was good. That's a lie. You're lying to us.
Mm-hmm.
Never. The man who made RoboCop? Come on.
Oh yeah, and shared some actors in there. Was it Greg, Neil? Whoever mentioned it. Prey comes out tomorrow on Hulu. It's a Predator prequel movie.
Oh, yes. The historical fiction Predator.
Historical fiction. That's funny.
It looks cool though. I saw the preview for it. I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking watch that. Hell yeah, Predator. Predator is one of the coolest characters. I mean,
Just
that was a
character design. Yeah.
I mean, that was a Schwarzenegger movie. And obviously the whole, Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, that stuff is kind of funny and cool. But that fucking character has outlived that movie and
give me Danny Glover any fucking day, man. I love Predator 2. Oh, I love Predator 2.
Yeah. Have you watched it lately?
Nope. I haven't watched it since probably like 1994.
I don't know. I don't know about Predator 2.
Thank you, Neil. Neil backs me up.
All right, Neil obviously has terrible taste in everything but podcasts.
Everything but podcasts. No, I like it's. Yeah, I remember liking Predator.
I do remember not hating Predator 2 as much as most people did, but come on, it was like Jason in New York. It was Predator in Manhattan.
Sign me up. Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't hold up very well. But yeah, I just
Aliens versus Predator was pretty solid.
Boy, is that! I mean, they expanded that universe, and it's interesting to think, and we'll get totally nerd minutia that like Blade Runner, Predator, and Alien all share a universe together.
Well, it's Ridley Scott's universe, isn't it? At that point, I mean,
it's not all Ridley.
Well, Predator, the Aliens, and Blade Runner is.
Yeah, and we throw Predator in there, but he didn't have anything to do with Predator, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, but it was nice to how they folded all that in. I like a good AVP.
And you had Jesse the Body Ventura in Predator. Like,
he was an all-star cast.
Bill Duke, Jesse the Body, Carl Weathers. Yeah, good.
It's a great movie.
It is an awesome movie, and some, I would say
it holds up. I watched it.
The special effects even hold up still.
Right. Well, they didn't go completely over their skis.
Yes.
Like, okay, we're gonna make it look like, if we can't make it look like it should look, we're not gonna do it.
Yes, absolutely. They did just enough to give you the sense of what they were trying to accomplish, invisibility, like heat vision kind of thing, and it was fine. It was perfect. It was all you fucking needed, and they still used essentially the same goddamn effects.
Yeah, and it still holds up. Because they didn't get over there. That's the thing. It's, we were talking like Starship Troopers and that kind of stuff, but Babylon 5 is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. It is almost unwatchable because of the special effects now.
Yeah, I haven't watched I don't know that I ever watched Babylon 5. I watched some of it.
B5 was, that's 5 years minus the fifth season was okay, but it was 4 seasons plus the finale in the 5th season were just some of the best sci-fi ever, like long form sci-fi.
Well, we have differing opinions on sci-fi.
I know we do. I still like Foundation.
Oh God, that was terrible.
I disagree.
I'm much more of Raised by Wolves. I thought was excellent. Did you watch that?
Done.
2 seasons and done.
Yeah, that's canceled. Which we were talking
that doesn't surprise me. I was surprised it got a 2nd season, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Man, it has a mood, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
He sets a tone and creates a mood. and I know these are all like speculative articles, and you shouldn't pay too much attention to them, but it does sound like HBO, Warner, Discovery, plus whatever the conglomerate is now, that
Yo,
they
I got
are.
stocks, so don't badmouth them. I
Huh?
want them to. I have a lot of stock in them, so don't badmouth them.
Well, your stock's going to go up because apparently they are cost cutting big time.
Bye bye, Batgirl. You're
Yeah.
my profit sharing just went up. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
No, I feel
Yeah.
bad. That is kind of crazy though. The Batgirl movie, they shelve it after spending like $80 million or
It was
something.
shot, right?
It was shot. It was in post production. They had already spent like 70 or $80 million on it, and then decided to just shelve it, which is odd. Like, I mean, that seems crazy to me. Like, why wouldn't you finish it and put it on? If nothing else, put it on your streaming service.
I don't
Why?
think they trust they may just shelf it for a couple of years and then put it out. Maybe they're trying to drum up a Snyder cut vibe, it's build up enough internet, blather about it that they can release it later.
The other, well, they talked about the idea that they're kind of pumping the brakes on the whole DC universe movies, and they want to kind of, because it's been a fucking mess, honestly. The last 3, 4, 5 years, well, DC movies in general have just been a fucking mess. But I think they're now like trying to reorganize. They mentioned like they want to take a long-term planning, like a 10-year, like Marvel did.
Do you like somebody else?
Yeah, well, hey man, they're not denying that they're taking after Marvel's success. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Sure.
It makes sense. And I wish they would, because it as a DC fan, I still have that weird fanboy thing in me of just like, they're getting their asses kicked by Marvel, but I love fucking DC characters, and I want DC to have awesome movies.
Yeah.
And
I think they do well on the TV side. They kind of hammered out a little,
that doesn't help my fucking stock
I know
prices.
it doesn't help your fucking stock. Yeah, those characters are timeless. They will eventually get it right.
I hope so.
We lived through Roger Corman Fantastic Four, man.
Did you I mean, since we're not really talking a whole lot of comic books on this episode, did you you watched Paper Girls? Did you watch Paper Girls?
I'm an episode in, and then I went to CrossFit Games for the week.
Oh, it got a perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes.
That tells you. And I know that you're about ready to shit on something.
Perfect score. Perfect. It's a perfect television show.
I don't think it's perfect.
Perfect.
According
to Rotten Tomatoes. Perfect.
This is interesting, and we see this. It's kind of a little bit of the Watchmen, the Zack Snyder Watchmen, to me, in that whenever we went and saw Watchmen, I think we both agreed that was as true of a big screen adaptation of that source material that could have ever been done. It didn't necessarily make it a great movie.
Yeah, it was a very linear, one-for-one sort of translation of the page to screen. If you were to take the comic book and use it as essentially a storyboard and have no concept of the actual depth of the story,
right? Yeah,
it that's what happened. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. It was a literal translation of the pages of the comic book into a movie.
Yeah, and I think that Paper Girls suffers from that a little bit. Me, as someone who really liked that series, and I'll go back and read it again and again, because it's just a really fun sci-fi romp, and it's I think it's Brian Vaughan at his best, and it's Cliff Chang art, which I can look at all day. I think that the show may suffer a little bit from trying to be really true to the source material. It's casted fantastically. I mean, those girls look like Cliff Chang drawings.
Yeah. I mean, they look fine. I don't know that they're very good actors though.
They look like the Cliff Chang character, and I think they're cast for that. Yeah, it's. I hate we're in a world where everything gets compared to something else, and so I think I'm even guilty of it from a few months ago. Whenever I saw the trailer, and I said, "Oh wow, this looks like a really good Stranger Things counterpart." I've been seeing articles of Amazon tries to roll out their Stranger Things show because it takes place in the 1980s with a group of kids.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it came out before Stranger Things was a television show, so there's no, I mean, as far as like the creative, timelines, there, it isn't. But the reality is, I'm sure people at Amazon were like, well, this could be like a Stranger Things, so let's make it.
For sure.
If it wasn't similar to Stranger Things, I don't know that it would ever get made. So there is some validity to sort of that commentary, but like trying to say, hey, Brian K. Vaughan ripped off Stranger Things, that's not true.
No. I think it was more of Amazon is trying to find their Stranger Things, and they did it with this.
It's a bunch of kids running around from weird shit in the 1980s. Of course, there's going to be the comparisons, the parallels to Stranger Things. In my opinion, it is not, it's from what I've seen, I've watched about 4 episodes of it. It doesn't have the tone. It doesn't have the heart of Stranger Things.
Doesn't have the charm of it.
It does not have the charm of Stranger Things. It's like everything Brian K. Vaughan does. It has a agenda of what what it's trying to do as a story, and that's fine. It does, sometimes it works, sometimes I read the comic. I liked the comic. I didn't love the comic. It didn't like absolutely enthrall me. And the show's okay. I don't know that I'll continue to watch it or not. To give it a perfect score though, it's sort of fucking ridiculous. Like, it is the Citizen Kane of sci-fi TV shows.
Hey, it's no Bear.
It is not even close to the Bear. No. It's not Stranger Things. It's not even
it's no.
But it could be its own thing. I mean, I think it has some interesting things. I think it was clunky in some parts. I think it was the writing was bad in some parts. Just sort of not well done. And the special effects were terrible. Like,
I haven't gotten to a lot of special effects stuff.
It looked like a Doctor Who episode from the fucking 70s. Which, if you're,
it's kind of like we say about Predator. It's like if it doesn't look good, don't do it. Right. It's don't do it. I mean, we got anything else? I mean, I can go on. Read Frankenstein, New World.
I got to read that. I haven't read it.
It's Mike Mignola, and it's officially Mignola-verse. Tiny spoiler: there is a tiny, like, 2-panel BPRD nod. So this is it's post-apocalyptic, right?
Is it post-apocalyptic?
It might be post-apocalyptic, but basically, like, the only living creature from the past is Frankenstein. And has been in the Hollow Earth as humanity kind of restarted, and so it's a Frankenstein in the Mignola-verse story.
Interesting.
And the art's great.
Wait, so it came out from Dark Horse?
It had to have been. It's Mignola, right?
It's actually Mignola. Interesting.
Mignola and Chris Golden writing. They're the writing pair, and I don't have it with me. I forgot the artist name. It definitely has kind of that BPRD Guy Davis vibe to it a little bit. I don't want to say he looks just. I mean, Guy Davis is pretty unique, but it kind of has that feeling of that great BPRD Plague of Frogs, and there's a
Right.
nod to the Plague of Frogs in this, so it's definitely the that whole Hellboy universe.
I will have to check it out. I meant to read
Yeah,
it and I didn't have a chance.
yeah, it's good. It was entertaining. It was fun. It's actually a fun book.
I did read an interesting. I know we talked about years ago. Many times we talked about the Luna Brothers. There were various series that they had done, and I was always a fan of their work. Girls was one of them. I can't remember them all, but the one Luna Brother just came out with a new book called 20XX. Let me look it up because otherwise I'm gonna fuck it up.
Yeah, because they had a run there in the 2000s where they were kind of like the image indie guys, that they had a pretty strong following. Yeah, like Girls was a big hit, and what I'm trying to think some of the other stuff that they did, I think that was probably their biggest one. But yeah, I like their stuff. It was a unique style, and yeah,
I always just like the sort of atmosphere that they created in their stories. Like, it was kind of weird sci-fi stuff. It wasn't necessarily mainstream. It just was askew, you know what I mean? Like, it felt like kind of
everything kind of like the panels almost looked like they had like Vaseline smeared on them.
Yeah, I wasn't always the biggest fan of the art. Like, I didn't think the art was like mind-blowing or anything. It was efficient enough for the stories, but I felt like I was more interested in sort of their ideas and the concepts that they came up with their stories. I felt like a lot of their stuff was just kind of unique and interesting and just off kilter, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't standard stuff, and that's really what I liked about it. Ultra was another one that they did.
Oh, Ultra,
yeah. And the Girls, but
wasn't Bendis was a big promoter of theirs.
He might have been. Yeah, I don't know.
I think back in the Bendis board days,
probably
the Luna Brothers were kind of darlings on that board.
But the one brother, Jonathan, has this book. It's called 20XX Transport. And the first issue, it was came out, and I think this was a world that they had done something in before, this 20XX. So I'm not really familiar with it, but I didn't really need to be. And it's just kind of a story about a kid that has like telekinetic powers, but it's illegal to have. And he's on a school bus, and the school bus gets hijacked, and he has to make decisions. But the interesting thing was, he had originally done this like on his social media, and he did it as a choose your own adventure, basically. So
that's cool.
He would write and draw a couple of pages, and then he would ask his viewers or his
give them a multiple choice of what
give them does the character do this, or does the character do this? And so he reprinted it, and he kind of gives you the answers of the questions, and then he only gives you the one path that people chose.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it was really kind of an interesting experiment. It's like, oh, that's something different. With comics, you don't see people necessarily using social media in that way, but it was kind of an interesting kind of thing, and it was a fun story. Like, it worked out pretty well. It had that very kind of odd Luna Brothers feel to it, and the world where it's kind of normal but not normal, just slightly off kilt, and it was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool issue. So I'm interested to see more of what those guys are doing, and more of this. But yeah, I thought that was kind of a neat idea to do that and just sort of push the medium a little bit and use tools. It's like, because you couldn't do that before. Like, you couldn't necessarily do that as a comic book at one time, and now it's like you have this this tool that you can absolutely do that with.
Yeah, it's that kind of feel and vibe. And back to HBO and canceled HBO Max shows. You ever watch Made for Love, Did you ever get
I
into
started it.
finish it? The second season is really baller.
All
It's
right.
and it's because most of it is in the habitat that the Google or the
Goggle.
the goggle dome or whatever the hell it is, and it's weird. It gets weirder in the second season, and it's kind of got that almost like Lunar Brothers, just kind of like floaty, you know,
Right.
atmosphere.
Just off base.
It's kind of off and weird, and
I mean,
it's
I
like
love that
yeah,
stuff. I
yeah,
love that kind of sci-fi stuff where it's like,
yeah.
whether it's like Black Mirror or, I was trying to think of what was the movie Under the Skin? I don't know if you ever saw that movie with
Skin,
Scarlett
no,
Johansson.
no.
Oh, it's a really interesting movie.
Okay,
Um, yeah, she's basically a serial killer, but
really.
yeah, it's
She's had for I mean, people don't realize the variety of roles that she's had.
yeah, this is a really small movie. It's very odd. But it
Which I mean,
is
she kind of started in Ghost World, right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
one of her very, very early ones. So, but
Or
Under the Skin,
Under the Skin, yeah.
okay, thumbs up.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Is it a 100% on Rotten
I don't
Tomatoes?
think it's a perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes. No, I doubt it.
Perfect score.
Did you ever see the movie? I think I mentioned it a while back. It's Cronenberg's son, Ben. I think it's Ben Cronenberg.
Okay.
David Cronenberg's son is a filmmaker as well, and very weird shit like his father.
Mm-hmm.
He did a movie. It came out, I think, last year. Um, what is it called? Oh, oh, is it Brandon Cronenberg? I'm sorry, Brandon Cronenberg. It's called Possessor.
You talked about this.
Oh,
You said it was awesome.
oh, it was one of my favorite movies of last year. It was so bizarre, such an odd film, unnerving. Yeah, it's great. It's terrific. I really loved it. It's not for everybody, and if you don't like
Yeah.
it, I certainly understand because it's
Yeah.
not.
It clicked with you, huh?
Yeah, it's just a weird. It's basically the idea is, um, it's about a woman who is an assassin, but the way that she kills people is that they figured out a way for her to essentially transmit her mind into someone else's body. So she
Mm-hmm.
takes over someone else's
And then commit
body
suicide.
and then commits suicide at the end of it. Yeah, so it's really fucked up. But then as she's doing it, like after time, she starts to like have sort of this mental breakdown. She's having a trouble like distinguishing between who she is, and it's a really weird, fucked up movie. But I really
That
liked it.
sounds cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah. Okay, I got one more post-apocalyptic thing to talk about before we wrap up. As each of these come out, I think I've mentioned them. Marvel is still producing the Wastelanders podcast series,
Mhm.
and they're on Wastelanders Wolverine now, which
Wolverine.
is kind of bringing it back to where the whole Wasteland started with Old Man Logan. They do kind of rewrite a little bit of the history. It's one of the things I like about the podcast is that they're not doing like straight up in like comic book canon stories. They've kind of changed the not everything on the podcast dramas has happened like it did in the comics. So the spoiler, the person who convinces Wolverine to kill the X-Men is not Mysterio in this one. It's
Damn
someone
it.
else. It's someone else. But it makes sense and it's really cool. Robert Patrick doing the voice of Wolverine.
Okay, interesting.
And he's great.
He's terrific.
He's terrific.
Well, he does have that old kind of like
He's now
he doesn't
Peacemaker Dad and Wolverine. Wastelanders Wolverine.
he has not aged well, Robert Patrick.
No, from the X-Files days. You know who his brother is, right?
Dan Patrick?
I forget his first name. Lead singer of Filter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's his brother.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So, hey, man, nice shot.
Hey, man, nice shot. Was that about T2?
Yeah. He doesn't look quite like the Robert Patrick from T2 has the what was the T2000 or whatever it was. Has not aged well. I think he intentionally looked like shit in Peacemaker, though.
I don't know if you see him outside of that, he doesn't look a lot better.
Yeah, he's getting old, man.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of yourself when you get older. You got to.
All right. Well, there's an hour and 20 minutes of a Tomless Around Comics episode.
Not timeless.
It's not Tomless. It's not timeless. It's Tomless.
All right, let's wrap this shit up.
Wrap it up. All right. So we're gonna open up the show to a little bit more pop culture talk. We're still obviously gonna talk comics. Serious. Let's talk Frankenstein next week. We have ACTV coming up this week. More TV movie talk. K. Billy Super Sound.
I have things to talk about. I have on ACTV. I have an Alien documentary that I watched. I want to talk about. Nice. More about Dark Star. And then Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, let's watch Prey.
Reservation
Dogs. Yeah, watch Prey. I'll watch Prey before this.
Prey.
That's the Predator prequel.
Oh yeah. Well, Sandman comes out tomorrow, so.
We'll talk Sandman. That's Sandman. One. Yeah.
I'm making notes. This is
making notes. All right. K. Billy Super Sounds. We're at the end. I mean, it's gonna be a month of celebrating Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think we're gonna have a live view. We're gonna do a Q&A panel. There's gonna be it's gonna be amazing.
Did we get Quentin? Did we lock down Quentin yet?
The email was sent.
We'll see.
I hit him up on the Instagram.
Have his people responded?
So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know it's one of Sal and Will Pfeiffer's.
I'm gonna do a live reading of the entire book.
Of the book. Well, I told you who does the audiobook, right?
I could do it better.
It's Jennifer Jason Leigh, and she's fantastic.
No, sorry.
Nah, she did a great job.
All right, Jennifer Jason Leigh. I'm gonna crush you. I'm gonna crush you. I'm gonna drum you out of the audiobook business.
Wow.
That's how bad I'm gonna just massacre your version.
Which we just did our talk on Hateful Eight. This is all available on Patreon. Go check that out. Patreon.com/around comics. Jennifer Jason Leigh was my favorite part of that movie. She was so good in it.
You're such a come on.
So good.
She was.
I loved her in that movie.
She was fine.
Great.
She was good.
She was
good. She wasn't the best part.
She was great.
Samuel
Jackson's pretty awesome.
Come on, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. She was great.
She was terrific.
Yeah.
But come on, Sam Jackson. Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell was pretty great. It's Kurt Russell and Jennifer Jason Leigh together made that movie. Just him beating the shit out of her.
Listen, we got to work on our communication. When I elbow you in the nose really hard, that means shut the fuck up.
So good. Such a great movie. All right, so more of that on ACTV. Tom will be back with us on next Thursday. In the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in
and around comics.
Everywhere and around. Everywhere and around.